My name is Don Dickson, and I want to welcome you to another edition of our Structure Fishing Workshop. So we have established in interpreting weather and water conditions, we have the same guide, and that guide is light. Light is 95% of everything that you and I need to be concerned about when it comes to weather and water. It's that simple. Bright conditions mean tough fishing. Darker conditions mean easier fishing. So as we begin this interpretation of our weather and water conditions, that's what we're always thinking about. Like this morning, we have a bright condition here in Florida. There's not a snowball cloud, there's nothing up there. It's bright blue, washed out sky. Beautiful day to go play golf. But fishing, pretty tough day. All because of this bright light. I can't even look at that sunshine this morning with sunglasses on. I can't look directly at it. That's how bright it is. So think about the effect that it has on a fish who takes in 5 times more light in their eyes than I do. Think how tough that is. Plus, the fish has no sunglasses. We talked about that the last time we got together. So we established that the passing of a cold front, that's how we started all this, creates all this bright sky, bright blue, and all of that stuff, which means tough fishing. And now when we get into the study on water conditions, the same guideline that we had with weather applies here. The clearer the water, the greater the light penetration. The greater the light penetration, the deeper the fish, the tougher the fishing. Or the darker the weather condition, cloudy. And the dirtier or dingier or more cloudy the water is, you will have shallower fish, warmer water, easier fishing, bottom line. Everything comes together, but everything is triggered with our interpretation of light and the penetration of light in the water. So the one thing I hope to establish over the last couple of times we met was that most people today have jobs, they're raising a family, they're raising kids, and they work 5 days a week and they have the weekend to go fishing. That's not everybody, but that's certainly the grand majority of people who go fishing. They go on the weekend. And that obviously points out the fact that we cannot choose our weather. If Saturday is the only day we can go fishing, or Sunday afternoon, we're going to be stuck with whatever the weather's going to be. Whatever it is, that's it. And we're stuck with it. But we said that we have a little bit of an advantage when it comes to water, because water plays an important part here. Now, when it comes to interpretation of water, you and I do not care how deep it is, how shallow it is, what the pH is, what the temperature is, what the oxygen content is. We don't care about those things. Those are the things that the other fishermen talk about. We are only concerned with water clarity. Now today I'm going to give you some reliable guidelines as to how you can interpret just what good watercolor is. Now, fortunately for you and me, when you begin to analyze all of the different rivers, reservoirs, lakes that you could run into in this country or in Canada, there's really only 5 distinct types of watercolor that exist. There's only 5. So I'm going to list them for you, and then we'll talk about each and every one of them and their importance and so forth. First, we have clear. Second, we have a watercolor that we refer to as brown cypress. And thirdly, we have a yellow-green color. And fourthly, we have something that Buck referred to as red sandy. Bottom line, it's the basic color that comes in reservoirs for the most part where we have a clay bottom. But red sandy is the 4th category, and white sandy is the last category we have. Best way to describe that's kind of like a milky color and mainly a reservoir color. Now I'm going to pinpoint it all for you, but I want you to understand that in all of my years of teaching, Buck had these 5 color separations listed in all of his material, and for the life of me, I don't believe that anyone can look at those pictures and be able to translate that to actually what a watercolor looks like. As an overall guideline, I guess it's okay. But nothing will really come to you as far as identifying watercolor. Nothing will be more important than your experience, seeing different types of watercolor. So first, let's take a look at natural lakes. There are two types that we need to talk about. First, we have spring-fed. Spring-fed natural lakes tend to be gin clear. And then we have the stream-fed natural lakes, where we have a stream entering and a stream leaving. And these stream-fed natural lakes have a tendency to be more of a yellow-green color. And it's in this area where we can have sort of degrees of variance in the yellow-green lakes. We can have a dark yellow-green, we can have a normal yellow-green color, and we can have a light yellow-green color. So we have some variance there in the yellow-greens. But in our natural lakes, spring-fed, clear. Stream-fed, yellow-green. Now, there is one other color that we can experience in natural lakes, and that is what we refer to as brown cypress. It kind of looks like iced tea, if you've ever seen it. It just looks like iced tea. And it's the tannic acid in the water that causes that coloration. Now, in actual fishing terms, even though that brown cypress tends to look or appear to be dark, the light penetration in brown cypress is exactly the same as the light penetration in clear water. So don't be fooled. Brown cypress is the same as clear when it comes to the penetration of light and how deep and dormant the fish are going to be. Now, this brown cypress water, it's mostly found in coastal regions. There's a lot of it in Florida. And as soon as I see a lake is brown cypress, I run for cover. I run the other direction. It's just no good. Now, it doesn't mean there's not fish in it, but I don't want to fish it. Maximum light penetration, brown cypress. All that being said, with the natural lakes now, and the natural lake colors of water, I'm going to define it a little bit further for you a little bit later, maybe the next time we meet, but let's move on to reservoirs. Reservoirs are a different story now. Reason I say that is reservoirs can be completely different color in one section versus another section of that lake. It can be completely different. And when you look at the natural lakes, a clear natural lake is the same color all the way around. It doesn't change in color. If it's clear, it's clear. And if you have a yellow-green natural lake, it's yellow-green. It doesn't change. You can have a specific lake that has dark yellow-green water. It's dark yellow-green completely all around the lake. Conversely, if you have another lake a few miles away that's a light yellow-green, it's light yellow-green all the way around the lake. So it doesn't change within the lake. It's the same color all throughout the lake. But reservoirs are different. They can be completely different colors. And that's caused by the main river channel. You might have all clear water in a certain type of reservoir. And then you have a side feeder stream cut that has a lot of color in it. Another river coming in, it does have color in it. And that creates a little better watercolor in that particular arm. So I'll go into more detail later, but understand that a reservoir can be clear in one area and have great watercolor in another. So we need to be aware of that. Now, for most of the year, the clearest water in a reservoir will be in the dam area. As you begin to move towards the headwaters, you normally are going to find the darker, more dingy water. The further up you go, the better that watercolor is going to get. And in reservoirs, mostly you're going to find red sandy, white sandy, and or some yellow-green. That's normally reservoir colors. Now, there is one exception, and that is what we refer to as a Highland Reservoir. Highland Reservoirs are built in high, rocky, mountainous terrain, and tend to be very, very clear in nature. And that's all brought about by the bottom makeup. However, even in a Highland Reservoir, the further you go towards the headwaters, the more likely it is you're going to find some more workable stuff and some better watercolor. Now this, of course, will bring about a seasonal color change in reservoirs. This seasonal change in a reservoir is opposite of what it is in natural lakes. Natural lakes tend to be the clearest in the spring, but a reservoir will be more roiled or more colored up in the spring because of the runoff. In fact, it's one of the very few times I might say that we would move down the reservoir to find more suitable water to fish, because sometimes in the early spring, the runoff creates such a muddy condition. I mean pea soup, mud. Fish can't really see the lure. So in that case, I would move down the reservoir till I got to a spot where it wasn't quite so muddy. But that's the only time of the year. Most every other time in the reservoir, we're moving towards the headwaters to find our better watercolor. In order to help you identify exactly what the watercolor is, since I don't believe you can do it really well with a picture, I don't think you can, but there are ways that we can determine the watercolor that's foolproof. And the next time we get together, I'm going to share that with you. But I want to end with this. Every clinic that Buck Perry ever gave, you know, he used to do all these one-night shows. And when I first started with him, for probably the first 18 months or so, I traveled around the country with him. He was doing all of these shows. And he had, you know, one of those old-time slide projectors. And I would sit in the chair and run his slides for him. And that was at his direction. And of course, he knew that if I was paying attention, over 18 months of doing that and listening to him, I'd probably get the idea about the basics of successful fishing. So just another example of how he would silently teach you stuff that he wanted you to know. But in each one of those clinics, I don't believe there was ever one that he failed to make a statement that I'm going to share with you right now. It's how I'm going to close. And this is classic Buck Perry says, folks, I'm going to tell you today about the two most important things there ever is that you could possibly say about successful fishing. First, watercolor. He'd say watercolor. And then he'd say, and secondly, make sure your plug's in the boat before you launch it. And then he'd just smile. Folks, that stuck with me. He said it every clinic. That's how he would end his clinic. Watercolor. And make sure the plug's in the boat. Well, those are the kind of things that I never forgot. So in my entire career, I've always been in tune with that watercolor thing. Like I shared the last time we got together, we drove 700 miles, walk out on a dock and say, let's load up and go. Turn around and go back home because of the watercolor. If you don't have to fish clear water, don't fish it. If you don't have to fish brown cypress water, don't fish it. Choose yourself a decent watercolor somewhere, somehow, and you're just upping your chances, 100%. And fishing is so much more fun when we're catching. That's another thing. I don't think I've ever shared this with you, but I used to ask in my schools, in my day or 2-day schools on the weekend. On the weekend schools, or sometimes on a Friday night 3-hour clinic, a lot of fishing guys and gals would bring their children. Maybe bring a 12-year-old, 13-year-old, 10-year-olds. And every time there was a break, we'd take a break, I'd search out some of the kids and I'd ask them, "You love to go fishing?" And you would be amazed how many of those young children said, "Well, nah, it's okay. My dad loves it, or my mom and dad both love it. It's okay. I don't mind." But you could tell they're not excited about it. And some kids actually would say to me, "I'm not really crazy about it. I'd rather be doing something else. It's not all that much fun to me." And the more I got those responses, the more I was convinced these kids don't like not catching fish. That's really the translation of what they were saying. Because I've never had a child in the boat, not one time ever, that they hit a big fish and their eyes don't get this big and they get so excited and they just never stop talking about it. They actually love catching fish. They just don't like not catching fish. I'm telling you, you want to bring your kids along and you want them to develop a love for fishing like you have, catch them some fish. Now, let's boil it down. Sure, we have to get better and learn a bunch of stuff, and we're going to be working on stuff. Presentation of lures, depth and speed, all of the other things that we talk about. But I can tell you today, since this is our subject matter, if you want to really up the chances of you and your children catching fish, choose your watercolor wisely. Can't emphasize it enough. Choose your watercolor wisely. Next time we get together, I'm going to really define the different watercolors and tell you how you can determine what the color is. And then from that information, decide how long you're going to spend in this particular area or this particular lake and so on and so forth. So I'm going to tell you how you can figure out exactly what the watercolor is next time we get together. So be sure to like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and be sure to subscribe to our channel here at YouTube. We appreciate you, and we'll see you the next time.